Hi, I'm Shay,
And I'm Dave.
and we're here to talk about the most controversial subject in Nichiren Buddhism.
Absolutely. And my favorite.
It's Shakubuku. And there's two ways people use the term Shakubuku, though incorrectly, technically. One way is to say, we're going to talk to people about Buddhism. We're going to say, have you ever heard of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo? And that's the wrong way. And then the other way is refuting people's religious views.
Right.
So Nichiren says in the Gosho, if you ever read the Gosho and you just sit down, you read it front to back, you should notice something. A lot of people miss it somehow, but I don't know how. Nichiren is almost in every Gosho either doing Shakubuku himself or talking about the crucial importance of Shakubuku. And he says, and I'll get the quotes later, I don't want to bore everyone, that you can't attain enlightenment unless you do Shakubuku. And by Shakubuku, he means the religious refutation version of it.
Right.
And, like right in Annotating Buddhahood, if everyone's read the Gosho, first one, according to SGI's chronology, is Annotating Buddhahood. He says, he calls all other religions inferior teachings, quote unquote inferior teachings. That's actually what he says. So he starts right out doing Shakubuku. And then, of course, the second one is one of the most famous writings he did, maybe the most famous, the Risho and Kokuron, where the whole thing is refuting the whole country's religious practices. I mean, pretty strongly, starting out with Shakubuku, and was very nearly killed several times for having written such a Gosho. So it did bother people. It wasn't just a nice little pleasant discussion that he was having with them.
So this is a method of propagation that we're talking about here, right?
Yes, this is a way to propagate. And what I want to talk about is why it's so crucial and why we're not dogmatic people. We're not just going to say something's true because Nichiren said it was true. We want to talk about the philosophy, the reasons we think actually for ourselves Shakubuku is crucial to your attainment of enlightenment.
That's key.
So, do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, would you?
Oh, thank you.
You're doing good so far.
Well, I'll just say I know.
I'm a critic or something. Anyway,
I know Dave has a couple things to say.
Always.
So the main reason I see, you have two organizations, SGI and Nichiren Shoshu, and there's others, but we're just going to ignore those people. Nichiren Shoshu is very much in favor of doing Shakubuku, tells people to do it. SGI, in their own writings, in their study material, has told people not to do Shakubuku except to Nichiren Shoshu members, which is confusing and weird. And so I look at these two examples of the results that have happened in the two organizations among the people who practice. And what seems to happen with SGI members who don't believe in Shakubuku is they themselves as people seem to become confused as to what is correct and what is not correct in terms of how to practice, and they don't have strong faith. And
they mix in all kinds of religious beliefs.
Yes.
Too. And
right. And see, they talk about Christianity like it's the same as Buddhism, and this is where it becomes very confusing. It's clearly not the same religion. It doesn't have the same effect when you pray. You're praying to something outside of yourself, which, if you look at our previous video about Myoho, is the wrong way to attain enlightenment. And, if you do it, you just know. Our term for Shakubuku actually is intellectual honest.
Right.
We use that usually instead of the term Shakubuku because it's about being honest with yourself and honest with others. And if you're honest with yourself and you're a Buddhist and you're chanting, there's a reason you're chanting, and you're not praying to God, you're not going to church, you're not doing what your whole family and whole society want you to do. You're going against society for something, and there's got to be some important reason you're doing this. And it's obviously not that you honestly think Christianity is the same as or equal to your practice in Buddhism, or you wouldn't do this. I just don't think people would do this. And so I think they're not being honest with themselves about this, and they're becoming confused. Like it says in the Gosho, their heads are split into 7 pieces. It represents kind of a confusion in your mind about what's true and what's not true, and not knowing the correct way to go. I think that not doing Shakubuku kind of leads to this kind of confusion even in your own practice.
And Shakubuku of everybody, basically, like how you said, that SGI only believes in doing Shakubuku to Nichiren Shoshu.
Yeah, that's confusing in and of itself. See, that represents a kind of confusion.
Right, and is intellectually dishonest, basically.
Yeah. So another reason to do it is basically, to be honest and to have integrity. And to have compassion. Because one of the results of not doing Shakubuku to other people seems to be that people maintain their incorrect views seemingly forever. Eventually you have to talk to them about why they need to discard false beliefs, how it's going to help them if they do. And if you don't, you're sort of lacking in compassion for those people. And this is part of our practice. Bodhisattva practice is still part of our practice for oneself and others. So, and then also, third point, although it's tied in, Nichiren makes the case that if you don't do Shakubuku, you become complicit in other people's causes.
Right.
So it's just like the same as like in legal terms. In our secular lives, we understand this, that if you know someone's going to rob a bank and you don't report it to the police and you don't do anything about it, and worse than that, you go with them on the ride, which I think is kind of like what people do. They kind of are going with Christians together on the ride with them, saying, oh yeah, they not only don't confront them, they actually are like talking about God. And
yeah,
even
or like
Ian McElroy or SGI, they publish.
He gave a Christian type prayer at the inauguration of Donald Trump, right?
I don't think it was the inauguration, but it was some Christian. It was a service. It was
inauguration.
Maybe I can't remember.
Anyway,
to Donald Trump and a large national audience, he gave a Christian prayer.
Yeah.
And they publish these things all the time in their writings. SGI does about praising Islam and Christianity. And so they're kind of going along on the ride, like going along with a bank robber to rob the bank, going, well, we're not robbing the bank, but we're also not going to do anything to stop the bank robbery, and we're kind of going to go along with the bank robbery in a way.
Exactly.
And then, you get to the court, and the court says to you, well, why didn't you stop them if you knew what was happening? You're going to be complicit in that crime. You are going to receive the punishment of the bank robbers. Even you can stand up in court and say, well, I knew about it, but I didn't want to make waves.
Yeah.
I wanted to just let them be who they wanted to be, and I am who I want to be. How can you fault me for that? I wasn't robbing the bank. I was just there.
Yeah.
And, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to buy it. In the same way, cause and effect works the same way in Buddhism, because Buddhism is also life. It's not some alternate reality. It's still part of life. It's still the same cause and effect relationships still apply in Buddhism that apply in your regular secular life. So if you're going along with Christianity or other harmful teachings, and we can do Shakubuku, that's a whole other subject. We can explain why Christianity is so harmful. But pick up a book by Sam Harris, The End of Faith. He'll explain it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
you're going along with these harmful philosophies and you don't say anything, you're complicit in their causes. This is just cause and effect. You're still part of the society that is doing this, even if you yourself are not involved. Unless you say something about it and you try to do something about it, then you're no longer complicit. And this is also talked about ad nauseum in the Gosho. Nietzsche talks about it a lot.
Yeah.
So you had said earlier, because we do these videos a gazillion times, about the you talked about throwing
the virgins into
I really like that story. I like it.
I do too, because I keep coming back to it. But it would be like if the USA's predominant religion was every month they have to throw a virgin into the volcano on Hawaii and sacrifice them. And we're a part of this country, and yet we, don't do anything to refute, this murder that happens every month. And we're complicit in that. If we care anything at all for the results that a country will receive as they make those kinds of negative causes, we have to say something. And I believe the same thing holds true for a Christian nation or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end there. We have more to talk about on the subject.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to make a couple videos, more than one. So
stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah.
But watch the next one.
See you then.
Okay. Somewhere is a mouse.
Yeah.